Kamali, taking you through some of the things people are talking about and some of the stuff they're sharing around the world on Newsfeed today.
5 years ago, my son said, "I can't breathe" 11 times. And today we can't breathe because they have let us down.
Still waiting for justice, the family of Eric Garner say they've been let down by the investigation into his death. Game of Thrones gets a record number of Emmy noms, even though last season wasn't very good. Animals going extinct will be worse for the planet than just losing some amazing species. And Netflix and Chimp, we've got some great new research about our hairy cousins. And top of our newsfeed, Eric Garner. He died in 2014 after police tried to arrest him in New York. He was unarmed and what happened next was unclear. The allegations were that he was choked by an officer who held his neck so tightly he couldn't breathe, which led to complications, perhaps asthma or a heart attack, and his death. His family have been hoping the policeman who held him in that chokehold would be prosecuted. They just found out he won't be. Here's Adama.
It's 5 years since the death of Eric Garner, killed during an altercation with a policeman in New York. Now, the US Justice Department says the police officer involved will face no charges.
5 years ago, my son said, "I can't breathe" 11 times. And today we can't breathe because they have let us down.
Eric Garner was 43. He was approached by police in Staten Island for allegedly selling untaxed loose cigarettes. Footage of his attempted arrest went viral. The officer involved was Daniel Pantaleo. He's been restricted to desk duty since the incident.
When we evaluated Officer Pantaleo's actions in light of his training and experience, Mr. Garner's size, weight, and actions to resist arrest, and the duration and escalating nature of the interaction, we determined that was insufficient evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Pantaleo acted in willful violation of federal law. Officer Pantaleo was not engaged in a chokehold on Mr. Garner when he said he could not breathe. And neither Officer Pantaleo nor any other officer applied a chokehold to Mr. Garner after he first said he could not breathe.
The deaths of other African Americans like Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, and Sandra Bland in altercations with the police led to protests and campaigns against police brutality and highlighted the strained relations between the Black community and police. And Eric Garner's words, "I can't breathe," became a rallying cry. Political analyst Karine Jean-Pierre, involved in Barack Obama's presidential campaigns, tweeted out "I can't breathe" 11 times, the same number of times Garner pleaded whilst in a chokehold. On Facebook, journalist and writer Sean King said,
"You want the heavy, painful truth? I lay this squarely at the feet of President Obama, Attorney General Eric Holder, and Attorney General Loretta Lynch. All three of them promised the family of Eric Garner that they would make sure this case was closed before the election. They had 3 years and sat on it and did nothing, and the family begged them to make a decision, and they did nothing."
Garner's family has vowed to protest the decision, calling on New York Mayor Bill de Blasio to fire Pantaleo, and has rejected his condolences.
We call the Department of Justice. They didn't do their job. So no, I'm gonna stand outside and I'm gonna scream it. Pantaleo needs to be fired!
The decision not to charge Pantaleo came the day before the statute of limitations expired. He still may face disciplinary action by the NYPD. So while the federal case is closed for now, racial tension in America remains an open wound.
Okay, let's take a look at some other things that we saw on social media.
Your cars.
TV Emmy Award nominations are in, and the 8th season of the widely criticized Game of Thrones has got a record number of nominations, leaving many on social media scratching their heads. How could something which was panned by fans as rushed and a disappointment be so loved by the industry? Well, because the show was a behemoth. It made the industry a bunch of money, and now it's a chance for it to be patted on the back. And Kit Harington, aka Jon Snow, got a nod for the Best Actor. The internet made this meme using Snow's own lines from the show. "I don't want it."
Sometimes when you love someone, you will do crazy things.
Some other nominations went to Killing Eve. That got 9, even though I thought the second season was pretty bad. Interestingly, the two leads, Jodie Comer and Sandra Oh, are both up for Best Actress. Other nominations, and some of Newsfeed's favourites: Succession is up for Outstanding Drama Series, Chernobyl for Outstanding Limited Series, Mahershala Ali is up for Best Actor in True Detective, and Don Cheadle could win Best Actor for his role in the comedy series Black Monday. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus, one of the greatest comic actors of all time, could potentially break Emmy records if she wins one this time around. She already has 8, 6 for Best Actress for her portrayal of Selena Meyer in Veep. She also has one for Best Actress for being Elaine Bennis in one of the best TV shows ever made, Seinfeld.
I say I want to be president for all Americans. I mean, do I? You know, all of them?
How about real Americans?
Oh yeah, that's good. And then we can figure out what I mean later.
Now, this time 50 years ago, 3 men were shooting across the stars on their way to the moon. And as we count down to the anniversary of their touchdown on the lunar surface, here are the memories of a few of the people involved in those momentous missions.
12, 11, 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good.
Hard to believe that, you know, now 50 years later, it was really a big deal. I knew it then it was a really big deal, but that's how I face it. It's a really big deal, but not me. It's just the program was a really big deal.
Overseas in France and in Germany. And then I went to the test. I was a test pilot there for a couple of years and went back again to the...
I was a flight director of it on Apollo 11. I was 33 years old, and I knew it was unique and I knew it was important. But the fact that 50 years from now we would have this kind of reaction, should have thought about it, but it didn't have time.
Okay, that's great. Is the lighting halfway, David? Yes, indeed. They've got the flag up now. You can see the stars and stripes on the lunar up now. You can see the stars and stripes.
What happened if Neil and Buzz were marooned on the surface of the moon is nothing that we ever discussed. We didn't have to discuss it. We weren't that stupid. We knew darn well if they couldn't get off from the moon, they were dead men. I had no landing gear on Columbia. I couldn't go down and help them in any way. So I had a choice. I suppose I could commit suicide or I could head home, and I was going to head home.
Apollo 11, this is Hornet, over.
Now, a discovery by police in Italy reveals just how well-armed some far-right groups in Europe are in what is becoming a worrying trend. around the world now for some other stories you need to know this Wednesday. Now, the US carried out just over 1,000 nuclear tests on and around the Marshall Islands between 1946 and 1992. And guess what? The area is now more radioactive than Chernobyl and Fukushima, the locations of the world's worst nuclear disasters to date. The Marshall Islands are in the Pacific between Hawaii and the Philippines. It was once a beautiful atoll of 1,000 small islets. Now it's a beautiful radioactive nuclear wasteland which will not be habitable for centuries. The US military is starting to panic that a Facebook prank could become a security concern. More than 1 million people have joined a group called Storm Area 51. They can't stop all of us. The founders of the group want to see what the US military is hiding at its top secret facility in the Nevada desert. Rumor is they have aliens and stuff there. A factory in Brazil has been shut after the owners boasted on social media that they could make you a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. The fake supercars still cost a lot of money, $45,000 each. The factory was shut after the Italian car makers complained to the Brazilian police. And this guy may get the gold for the world's worst smuggler. He tried to take half a kilo of cocaine into Spain by hiding it under his wig. As you can see, it was a terrible choice. And an eagle was given a drink after being cared for following a forest fire in Turkey. The eagle is being looked after by vets. The fire burned 350 hectares in the region of Dalaman in the southwest of the country. Now, there's been an added warning out today about how we care for the planet. This one warns that it's really in our interest to conserve all the wildlife we can. And last up, we have some news of an amazing scientific discovery which shows our closeness to certain apes. Now, a group of chimps and bonobos were made to watch videos. Unsurprisingly, they preferred movies which featured other apes, proving it's not just humans who like to see themselves represented on screen. But that wasn't the cool thing about the study. Scientists from Duke University in the US found that the primates were also more likely to bond with one another after they'd watched a movie with them. They say this proves there is something special about shared experiences, like when you watch a show, a movie, or a sports event with people, you feel a shared bond, and the same feeling is felt by our hairy cousins. And that will do from the Newsfeed team. Reach out to me with your questions, comments, complaints, and suggestions. You'll find me at Kamali Melbourne. You'll find us 24/7 on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and follow me on Twitter. Follow, subscribe, add. See you again tomorrow.